atmosphere, it is prime for severe storms from the southern plains to the Gulf Coast. Welcome in, everyone. This is Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. This far-reaching spring system also going to bring rain and snow to the Midwest, flooding rain to the south before it cranks up the East Coast just in time for the weekend.
Indeed it does. So we're going to have all the details for you. Our Dr. Rick Knabb has the big picture as we break down the threats region by region. Dr. Knabb.
Yeah, Mike, Alex, we've got a coast-to-coast weather.
Who is at risk for the severe storms tonight and then into tomorrow and then into Saturday?
So today, you live in a place like the hill country of Texas. Heads up for you. Heading up through Fort Worth, Dallas, across the Red River in Oklahoma. That spreads eastbound over the next few days.
Yeah, absolutely. And tonight's threat is going to be later, but we add more and more people. There's also going to be a flash flood threat. That's going to be pretty significant here as we go tomorrow into Saturday. Things are going to be awfully busy across sections of the southeast.
It could be a washout for your Saturday, starting your weekend here across the southeast. And certainly not to be overlooked is that threat for some really significant rainfall, flash flooding in a lot of areas where we've had a lot of rain recently, so the ground's primed for it.
We had flash flooding in Atlanta Tuesday into Wednesday, once again in the threat zone, given the fact that we've already primed things. As you mentioned, the soil is saturated. Birmingham to Montgomery, Alabama, up towards the Atlanta metro. That's the greatest risk area.
All right, so let's go to it. Let's break down some of those details for you and take you to Fort Worth, Texas.
Kansas and Missouri. Nothing severe warned here in these areas. These are your, garden variety thunderstorms bringing you some heavy downpours and, again, frequent lightning. But what we're watching a little later in the day, that dry line to allow our thunderstorm chances to not just pick up, but become more severe as well. Wichita area on the east side of town, we've got some thunderstorms. Also to the north of town, we've seen thunderstorms north of Kansas City. As we've seen those thunderstorms work south to north, you've got some heavy rain moving into the metro area as well. And then down around Dallas, we do have the rain showers with thunderstorms off towards the south. So Cleburne area points to the east. I-35 east about to see that rain begin to pick up. And again, if you are hearing thunder, you need to be inside. We've got active lightning. Now through tonight, we're watching Abilene to San Angelo. And so you're thinking there's not much out there now. It will be later. Oklahoma City up into parts of southwest Missouri, southeastern sections of the state of Kansas. As energy increases overnight, that's going to trigger our storms. And some of these, again, will be on the strong to severe side, given that we've got a cold pocket of air aloft. I think hail is likely, but damaging winds and tornadoes also a possibility. So there's that mid-level disturbance. That's going to offer up that cold air aloft, increase our chance for large hail. Inside this white shaded area or this white outlined area, 2-inch or greater hail possible. Areas in purple could see that hail threat of 1 inch or larger. That's severe criteria hail. Now, we look at the timing. Again, we've got those thunderstorms out there now, and they continue. But look as we get into the later afternoon hours. Now we're looking at parts of Oklahoma, including areas west of Oklahoma City down towards the Red River. We've got some thunderstorms late day from Abilene to San Angelo. They'll be working towards Dallas and Waco into the overnight, and then more fire up through the overnight hours, including south of Oklahoma City, back down through Texas. So another round headed your way in Dallas tomorrow morning for the morning drive. And again, when we're watching hail, a lot of people on the roads, not a great combo. Here's this afternoon. Again, some scattered showers and thunderstorms likely. Another wave around midnight and then another wave into tomorrow morning. The commute would feature the strong storm chance and very heavy rain. So it's going to be a tough drive to work on Friday. And by the way, Friday afternoon and evening, we watch for a little bit more shower and thunderstorm activity. So, Mike, we had that really nice day yesterday across parts of Texas. Even right now, not the worst, but we're going to stay pretty active here through the end of the week.
And as we go later in the week, like tomorrow and in.
We got a storm system moving through the middle part of the country now, offering up severe chances today, really tonight, though, and there's a lot more going on. Mike's going to talk about the snow. Then we've got heavy rain, flooding, possible severe weather to wrap up the week, start the weekend, and even a system that'll work up the coast and maybe bring us some lake effect snow into parts of the Northeast. So, again, there's a lot on the table. Let's start with the late part of the week. There's the upper level disturbance that's moving off towards the east. Again, later tonight, opportunities for severe weather start to go up. So now we're going to be watching parts of Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas. As we get into the day tomorrow, moisture being pulled out of the Gulf of Mexico. Our low continues to the east. Warm air pulled to the north. So most areas will see rain. However, on the backside of this, we've got some cold air to work with, so snow in places like Denver. Strong upper-level winds will help to add lift. So across sections of the southern plains, the mid-south, the southeast, we've got a severe risk and also a very heavy rainfall risk. That could lead to flash flooding in places like Birmingham, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia. So look at this mess for the end of the week. You're like, I wanted Friday to be easy. Well, if you live in Las Vegas, it'll be good. Mike, everywhere else, it's kind of a mess.
It is a mess, isn't it? That's a very busy map. And usually
Good. Maybe you're heading to Florida, but you can't go to Miami, right? I've heard like Miami's like, no one's coming here for spring break. 1 to 2 inches across parts of the Midwest, the Ohio Valley. So the deeper shade of green indicates the higher rainfall chances. We've got an inch or less coming to the rest of the region. Then, of course, back towards the west, we got a little bit of snow. Minneapolis, right now, you are sitting at 45 degrees. It's 53 in Des Moines, 50 in Kansas City. You've seen some showers and thunderstorms rolling through. Chicago, right around 50. Indianapolis and Detroit, very close as well. Clouds on the increase, already overcast in Indianapolis. A little bit of sunshine peeking out farther to the north. But Kansas City, you're socked in with the rain, and it's going to stick with you over the next few hours. You can see this rain shield continues to work up towards the area. North of town, that's where we've got some thunderstorms. I-49, kind of a mess this afternoon. Possibility of flash flooding in these areas. So Missouri, parts of western Illinois, parts of eastern Kansas, into Oklahoma and Arkansas through tomorrow morning. We also got to watch Chicago, Indianapolis, Louisville, Nashville, Paducah. So some very big metro areas with the opportunities for rain and thunderstorms. That could bring you just enough rain to lead to high water problems. So be aware of that. Keep it in the back of your mind. That usual route home may not be accessible if we get some flash flooding, or usual route to work tomorrow. Here's tomorrow's afternoon forecast with some of that heaviest rain mid to late morning, early afternoon for Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit. You've got a rainy Friday afternoon. Man, it's a Detroit-style pizza day, which, by the way, if you've never had Detroit-style pizza, get in on that. And then, by the way, on the backside of this, late Saturday, early Sunday, we have snow showers. Here with Mike Bettis, Dr. Rick Knabb with us as well. We have a lot of active weather and all kinds of active weather, from wind and snow to storms and flooding. Temperature changes.
feels like spring, doesn't it?
It's very spring, and it's very loaded, especially as we go right into the weekend. When you were like, I had plans outside. Weather's like, no, you don't.
Tough timing, really tough timing. We did this last week in a lot of places, too. I want to show you the lightning.
At tomorrow's severe risk, a much larger area. And again, some very populated locations, including Jackson, Mississippi, Mobile, Biloxi, areas north of New Orleans, Alexandria and Shreveport, Little Rock, all the way over towards Montgomery, western parts of the Florida Panhandle. Torcon values are up to a 3, so that would mean isolated tornado risk. Severe weather, definitely a likelihood in this zone. Gusty, damaging winds and hail, both possible. So we're going to go throughout the day with that severe risk. Also, very heavy rainfall risk could lead to some flash flooding concerns. So we start off tomorrow morning with storms already ongoing across southern sections of Arkansas, northern Louisiana. And, of course, we've been telling you back towards Dallas and Waco, that I-35 corridor going to be lighting up tomorrow's morning commute. By midday, now we've got some storms working towards Birmingham and Huntsville, back through parts of central Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, East Texas. You're also dealing with storms through the afternoon. Now we see those advance into the Atlanta metro area, Birmingham and Montgomery. You're in for an absolute mess of a late day drive. Same for a lot of Mississippi, including Hattiesburg up towards where's that? Meridian. That's the place I was looking for. And then back over through western sections of the state of Louisiana. I stayed in Meridian once on my way to the NCAA tournament. Birmingham to Atlanta, that stretch of I-20, a nightmare Friday night. I mean, we're talking torrential rain, and now the flash flood risk really starts to go up. So you see this slug of heavy pouring rain. These areas already had flash flood issues this week, so that's not going to do us any favors. We see that rain eventually move out by mid-morning Saturday, but by then the damage may already be done. Weather Prediction Center highlighting that area in yellow as a likely zone for flash flood problems. So be aware of that. Possible from Dallas, you had some great weather yesterday. Things, they are changing now. We give you a virtual view. We've got rain showers. We've got thunderstorms off and on a few times through the next 48 hours. So we've got waves of rain working in, much more in the way of gray skies as opposed to what we had earlier in the week. And, of course, at times with those thunderstorms, expect the sky to just open up. You'll get drenched. Tomorrow's morning drive may be actually one of those times. Hail is a possibility with storms today. Really tonight, we've got to watch for the possibility of hail 1 inch or larger in diameter. So that gets us up to quarter size or larger. You guys know, you've had your experiences with those hail storms. It doesn't take super large hail to lead to a very expensive problem, especially with how many cars there are on the roadways around Dallas. Dallas, you're in a torcon of 2, little higher to the west and a little higher to the east. So a little better opportunities for the rotating storms either side of town. Would not, though, rule an isolated tornado out. Hail, gusty, damaging winds also on the table. So this afternoon, you can see we've got some thunderstorms out there. I think through the evening, we've got more rounds of thunderstorms. We move into the overnight, and that's when things could be punchy for your morning commute on Friday. Now we've got storms arriving 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, with another round, Mike, arriving just in time for Friday night. So you're like, this is getting exhausting.
It is. Gosh, can we just get one good Friday night, one good just one good weekend? Is that
very rainy for your second half of Friday into the overnight hours? Let's take you to New Orleans. Virtual view. We've got some blue sky out there to start, and then, of course, things change there as well. So we've got a soggier end to the week and start of the weekend, so expect the clouds to build, the rain to follow, and again, some good soaking rains with those thunderstorms on the way. So very similar to other spots. This is your forecast tomorrow. So again, we end the week. It's Friday. You wanted to let loose. You wanted to enjoy a good meal, and you got to go up against some thunderstorms to either go out or just get home. 2 on the Torcon scale for the New Orleans area, 3 farther to the north, so Baton Rouge, Macomb, Biloxi, Mobile. These would be areas, again, where isolated tornadoes are possible, but severe storms are likely. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock in the morning, we've got scattered showers out there. Notice the thunderstorms become a little bit more numerous into the early afternoon. I think it's mid to late afternoon for the New Orleans area. By evening hours, things become a bit more spotty, but can't rule out a shower or even a thunderstorm as we move into the late evening and overnight hours. So I know you get out there, have a great time, but even late Friday night, Mike, we could still be dealing with some active weather.
And it does seem like almost all of our
Erie lake effect favored zone would be shut down by this point, but again, our lakes are unfrozen. Lake effect snow occurs when cold air flows over relatively warm lake waters. Right now, lake water temperatures are in the upper 40s. So, yeah, we have relatively warm. So you get anything colder than that, and then you've got that pressure or that temperature difference. That warm, moist air off the lake, that rises into that cooler air. Obviously, the bigger the difference, the more rapid the rise, the more explosive the convection. You get the condensation occur, you get the cloud cover development, and, of course, you get the snow showers. And a lot of times you get those snow bands. Ice cover for all Great Lakes. On average, this would be about the peak of our ice cover before it starts to go down during the spring. You can see we've got very little ice coverage. In fact, less than 2.5% of the lakes are covered in ice. So, again, we've had all sorts of problems with those winter sports that rely on ice. You're just not getting it. Again, lake temperatures along Erie in the upper 40s near Cleveland. We've got low 40s over by Buffalo, upper 30s close to Oswego. Grand Rapids, water temperatures there on Lake Michigan in the low 40s. Huron temperatures in the low 40s. So, yeah, we're going to get that cold air working over those lakes, and that temperature difference is going to allow the lake effect snow to develop. I think we could see some areas where the snow comes down at a bit more moderate pace across southwest New York, across northwest PA. That will continue into Monday. North Country New York, northern Vermont could see some heavier snow showers by Monday late morning. And so, yeah, we're looking at accumulating snow, not from necessarily a coastal system. There will be some effect of that, but a lot of it will be lake effect, lake enhanced. And again, Mike, this is the time of year where usually you're like, oh, there's not going to be anything from the lakes. The lakes are all iced over. Not this year. Listen, 2.5%. That's crazy.
And it's all on Lake Superior, if I'm not correct. But it's wild to see, especially Lake Erie. You know that the atmosphere is primed for severe storms from the southern plains to the Gulf Coast. Welcome in, everyone. This is Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. We've got our expert, Dr. Nab, here with us as well. A far-reaching spring system bringing rain and snow to parts of the Midwest and West. Flooding rain to the south before it cranks up the East Coast this weekend. All right,
let's get to the big picture with our expert, Dr. Rick Nab. Then we'll go region by region. Dr. Nab, start us off.
Yeah, Mike.
All right, so that's kind of the big picture, what's going to happen. But let's go day by day here for the severe weather threat, including today, Texas, Oklahoma, you're at risk.
Yeah, that continues tonight. And then tomorrow, we've got a big expansive zone from parts of Texas and Oklahoma all the way into the southeast.
Southeast on Saturday, so heads up for you now. North Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas. The start to your weekend is not going to be all that much fun.
No, and not to be overlooked, we've got the threat for significant rainfall, dangerous flash flooding as well. Helped, in fact, by the fact that we had really heavy rain in some of these areas earlier this week. So this is truly a 1-2 punch of just too much rain.
You think about how much rain we picked up early in the week. Some places 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, which is a month's worth of rain in just a day or two's time. Now we're going to do that again. So we had like like 2 months worth of rain in a week's time. It's just too much for the ground to hold.
Yeah, didn't even get, a full week off. So a lot of people say, hey, my backyard's still squishy.
It is.
Now we got more rain coming in. Fort Worth, Texas, a beautiful game you used to play on the old Nokia phones. It kind of looks like that lined up, just, trotting across parts of Texas. And nothing severe warned in those areas, but we do have a lot of lightning. So if you're hearing thunder, you need to be inside. Up into Missouri, we've lost a lot of the lightning in the Kansas City metro area, also to the east of Wichita. That storm is weakening, but we've got a pretty broad area of at least moderate rainfall. So that's slowing things down on the roadways and, of course, really reducing your visibility. Here's what I was talking about. There's that line from areas south of Denton through areas north of Mineral Wells. So at this point, it is north of I-20. Fort Worth, you've got one thunderstorm on the west side of town. And then Dallas, you've just got the persistent moderate rain that's been moving through. Any thunderstorm activity staying pretty well to the south of Dallas, down near Cleburne and Hillsborough, so sections of I-35. As Mike mentioned, we got to watch Waco. We got to watch Austin a little bit later for the opportunity of a severe storm or at least just a thunderstorm. So don't be surprised if you're hearing thunder. Severe risk today from Missouri and Kansas through Oklahoma and Texas. And this would also include late this evening and into the overnight hours. So energy actually on the increase overnight. So kind of counterintuitive. I know we oftentimes think of the afternoon and the early evening hours as prime time for severe weather. Today's risk is going to extend into the sleeping hours. Tomorrow morning, we still have a lot of energy to work with, so those storms are still going to be packing a punch for the morning drive. Our mid-level disturbance, it brings cold air aloft, so that will help to increase the likelihood or the chances of large hail. Not just 1-inch diameter hail, but the hail that gets supersized, right? The 2 inches or more. That would be the egg size or larger, and that would be through western Oklahoma back towards Abilene and San Angelo. Dallas, Waco, Austin, Fort Smith, Springfield. These are all areas that are looking at least quarter-size hail. Here's the future radar. So, again, this afternoon, we've got those thunderstorms converging around Dallas and Fort Worth. That continues through your late-day drive. We watch the I-35 corridor. Now, late evening into the overnight, Dallas to Waco. You've got another round moving in. And then, look, overnight, there go the thunderstorms taking off back towards Abilene, San Angelo, and they'll continue east. So, Dallas, could it be 2 crummy commutes? Could it be this afternoon and then again tomorrow morning? Looks like it, with the thunderstorms rolling in just in time for you to hit the roads Friday morning. Got to watch for that hail potential. So if you love your vehicle, you may want to alter your commute time, Mike, or be like, hey, can I start the day from home? Like, let's not mess with my windshield.
That's actually a pretty good plan, actually.
Yeah, or you just don't go. I mean, whatever. You do what you want. You just make it a 3-day weekend. Just
Alex
call in
Wilson,
sick.
you giving people permission to call, like, I'm storm sick.
Yeah. Like,
yes.
Oh, my gosh, there's hail. And or you just say, like, it hit your elbow and it was like a whole thing and you got to call in. You might need stitches.
That seems to make complete sense.
We got quite the storm for the end part of the week. A little snow, little wind, little rain, some storms, some flooding rainfall, all on deck. Even lake effect snow coming back for your weekend. Let's start with the late part of the week. We've got our upper level disturbance moving off to the east. This is bringing showers and thunderstorms today and tonight to parts of the southern plains especially. That storm system organizes, though. It moves east through the late part of the week, drawing in that Gulf of Mexico moisture. That's going to be key for not just thunderstorms, but also the threat of very, very heavy rainfall across some areas that already this week have seen some really heavy rainfall. Warm air being pulled up to the north. So we start off with rain for just about everybody. You can see cold air on the backside of this system moving south. That'll actually lead to some of that lake effect by the end of the weekend into parts of the Northeast and Great Lakes. But strong upper level winds, will help to add lift. So we've got a lot of rising air. That, again, promoting thunderstorms and flooding rainfall. So windy with some snow back into the west, windy with rain and thunderstorms around the Great Lakes and around the Midwest. Down to the south, we've got to watch for severe weather today, southern plains, tomorrow across sections of the mid-south and southeast. And again, that flooding rain threat will carry into the start of the weekend as well. By the end of the weekend, some of these areas looking at a wet and, for some, wintry weekend. But let's start with the winter weather out west, Mike. Places like Denver getting in on some snow.
We will finally.
Oh, and by the way, for good measure, we're going to continue it Saturday as well. So the umbrellas, the rain jackets are going to get a lot of usage. And, that towel you have to dry the dog's paws off after they go out, that's going to get a lot of use as well here in the next 48 hours. 1 to 2 inches coming your way across southern Michigan, western PA, all the way down through parts of Missouri, even into sections of Kansas. Some spots could even see some higher totals, up to 1 inch in the lightest shade of green. So for a lot of these areas, It's going to be a soggier end to the week with very little wintry weather, or even up around the Great Lakes. Kansas City right now, you're at 50 degrees with rain. We've got 55 in St. Louis. No rain reaching the ground at this point. Chicago, you've seen the clouds overtake the sun. Detroit still has some sun peeking out. Temperatures right around 50 for Chicago, Detroit, and Indianapolis. Kansas City, though, you're in the rain now. You're going to be in the rain for some time. I-70, I-49, I-35. Not the easiest drive this afternoon with that rain reducing visibility and just making it yuck on the road. So windshield wipers are operating. Possibility of some flash flooding, Mike, into tomorrow morning.
All right, Alex, thank you for that. Here, the largest wildfire in modern times in United States history. So it's been a very significant event there in Texas.
Absolutely. A story we're going to continue to follow as well. You are watching Weather Underground. I'm Alex Wilson here with Mike Bettis, Dr. Nab in the house as well. We got a lot of active weather, some of that coming to the southern plains. So some rain and thunderstorms.
You know, we had the storms last night, early this morning. We've got more storms today, unfortunately. Like Fort Worth, you've been one of those spots.
Of risks that come with these storms and, of course, hail, one of the most expensive. So we'll be watching that. Then tomorrow, our severe threat works into other areas. And in addition to hail, I think gusty, damaging winds are a real significant threat from parts of eastern Texas, southeast Oklahoma, all the way to about the Georgia-Alabama state line. So, again, a lot of metro areas, a lot of people in tomorrow's path of severe weather. Torcon values, 3 in the bright red area, 2 in the orange. So like today, we've got an isolated tornado threat, but severe weather likely. In addition to severe weather, heavy rain could cause us a lot of trouble. So tomorrow morning, we're already starting off with heavy rain right along southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana. So the rain is going to be coming down like crazy for your morning drive. That first wave by midday, lunchtime, begins to move out of Mississippi into Alabama. We've got a secondary zone back into parts of Arkansas and Louisiana and Texas. That'll be bringing some punchy thunderstorms. So rounds of rain, Birmingham, Atlanta, Montgomery, Meridian, Hattiesburg, even back into eastern Texas, some areas up towards Oklahoma City, North Texas. It's going to be a really crummy late day drive for you tomorrow. 5 o'clock, it's socked in with rain. I-20 Birmingham to Atlanta, I-85 Atlanta to Montgomery. Miserable, and not just for the late day drive, but all the way through the evening. You can see some of the heaviest rain focused in these areas. That's why the Weather Prediction Center is especially concerned about those locations for the risk of flash flooding tomorrow into early Saturday. So especially late Friday and overnight, likelihood of flash flooding in these areas outlined in yellow shading. So that's Birmingham to Montgomery, up towards the Atlanta metro. Then there's a possible zone from western North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, all the way back towards New Orleans, the Gulf Coast, and parts of Arkansas and Louisiana. So again, quite a bit of real estate where the risk for flash flooding is high, but we've got interstates and again, major metros looking at a likelihood of flash flooding starting tomorrow. Right? And these areas honestly don't even really need the rain. We're watching for more of a flash flood risk than necessary rain. So Montgomery, you got a Torcon of 3 tomorrow. Birmingham, a Torcon of 2. That extends close to the Atlanta metro area. So severe weather will be a risk, but I think flash flooding will be the most significant and impactful issue. In addition to flash flooding, river flooding a possibility. So flood watches have been posted for all the areas shaded in green. This is Birmingham and Montgomery. So we start things off Friday morning. The morning drive does feature some wet weather, but things really go downhill for the late day drive. So if you've got tomorrow off, you don't even have to mess with the commute. But the afternoon commute looks like an absolute nightmare. Friday night plans, go see a movie, hang out on the couch, catch up on your TV shows, pick something up at the grocery store like an oven-baked pizza. Honestly, it's going to be one of those nights. And then you get the cookie dough, Mike, that you can either put in the oven or you can do what I do, where you just open the package and you just sit there and eat the cookie dough. I know the instructions say don't do it. So before you tweet me and say, like, I'm going to get sick, I'm okay. I got this. Oh, yeah, because tomorrow, work late. You can sit in that office all you want. You're not going to be missing anything on Friday. Tomorrow into Saturday, flood watch is in effect all across the metro. And you see, we get into Friday afternoon and we just see rain chances skyrocket. By late Friday and overnight, that's when the rain is coming down. That's when the thunderstorms are out there. And that's when the flash flood risk will be the highest as well. So tomorrow afternoon, just in time for your late day drive, there are the showers, there are the thunderstorms, but things really get intense late Friday and into the overnight hours. A lot of orange and red on that map. Those are the rainfall rates that are really heavy. Small creeks and streams could quickly rise. Obviously, we watch things like the connectors. Some spots of that roadway tend to go underwater. So Saturday morning, be prepared for some travel trouble. Rain begins to wrap up late to the weekend. Cold air aloft, flowing over relatively warm lake water. Again, upper 40s, by no means balmy. It's not bathtub water, but when you compare it to the air temperature, you've got warmer lake water. So that gives you the instability. You get that water off the surface of the lake, that warm, moist air start to rise into the cooler air aloft. So the warmer lake waters are warming that air right above the lake surface. We get that air rising, condensation occurs, snow falls. Obviously, the greater the temperature difference, if you have really, really cold air working over those relatively warmer lake waters, you can see some explosive convection. And that's when you see those bands that are just pumping out 2 to 3+ inches an hour. All Great Lakes at this point would honestly be right around their peak when it comes to ice cover. Look at this. We've had like no ice cover. I mean, we're not just like below average. We are abysmal. Usually you would expect about 38 to 40% ice cover. We got 2.42% ice cover. And as Mike pointed out, most of that is on Lake Superior. So it's way, way up to the north. Lake Erie, your ice cover is 0. There is no ice cover over Lake Erie. So again, we got nothing but lake to work with. And again, at this point, you would typically see almost at least 2/3, if not 3/4 of the lake frozen. Water temperatures, 47 near Cleveland, 40 near Buffalo, 37 near Oswego on Ontario, Huron temperatures, as well as Michigan, at least southern Lake Michigan, in the low 40s. Moving up to the north, again, water temperatures are still in the low to mid 30s around Sault Ste. Marie, upper 30s there into parts of northern Lake Michigan. So, again, you get a little cold air moving over that, and the lake's going to work with that. Snowfall departures have been significant, especially for places like Erie, coming off of Lake Erie, Mike, almost 70 inches below average.
Amazing. Atmosphere ED is primed for severe storms from the southern plains to the Gulf Coast. Welcome in, everyone. This is Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. This far-reaching spring system also brings rain, snow to parts of the Midwest and West, flooding rain to the south before it cranks up and makes a mess of your weekend in the Northeast.
Does anyone get missed? And did we forget any weather?
Las Vegas. You can bet on that.
Vegas looks pretty good. Oh, I see what you did there. Very nice. All right, we're going to break down all the threats for you. Let's get the big picture right now with our expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. Dr. Knabb.
Well, Mike, Alex,
hold on our wounds
he
there
did.
with that.
He reminded me that I'm going to have really bad under-eye circles on Monday.
Man.
I'm not going to be able to speak because I'm going to be so tired.
Although that means it's one less hour of the bad weather.
That is true, right?
If we skip ahead?
You kind of are like, you know what, how about I trade one in?
That feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, actually, yeah, you know what?
Spin this positively.
I'm making out. I am showing Mother Nature what's up. I'm actually like, I tricked you.
Ta-da! All right, so severe weather definitely going to be in the cards for us here. You take a look at the maps behind us. Today, it's going to be issues in Texas and in Oklahoma, then creeps its way east.
Yeah, tomorrow we got a lot of people in the threat zone, from Jackson, Mississippi to areas north of New Orleans, all the way over to the Alabama-Georgia state line. So we look at places like Montgomery, and then there's like Little Rock, Arkansas. Again, lots of people.
It's been really rainy there over the last couple of weeks, honestly, so the ground's really wet right now. There's going to be a flood threat that comes with all this. Many of us will probably pick up like 2 to 3 inches rain. I think it'll be very common.
Right.
There'll be a lot of spots that'll pick up double that.
And this is coming on the heels of a very, very wet early week for places like Atlanta, Birmingham, and Montgomery. So the Weather Prediction Center, they're saying, hey, we're concerned about these areas, likely flash flooding. So what we saw earlier this week in Atlanta would count on more of that.
You know, you think about low-lying neighborhoods are going to fill up with water. Parks, golf courses, creeks and streams are going to come out of their banks. It's going to be a rough time.
Yeah, there's just not bandwidth for it. You're still walking in your yard and hearing the
squish. Everything's a sponge right now. It's really, really soggy. All right, so let's get you to some of the areas that we're worried about.
Conga lines, as they move over the same areas, and they just keep on going. And unfortunately, that's actually prompted a flash flood warning now for areas west of Fort Worth. Let's start, though, into parts of Missouri, eastern Kansas, northern Arkansas. That's where we've got just a big batch of moderate rain coming down. Not as much lightning as we had even last half hour. At this point, we don't have lightning, but it's tough on the roads. You got lower visibilities, you got the low cloud cover, the rain's coming down pretty steadily, so not an easy drive. Dallas, you've seen some persistent rain. You got a little bit of a break. Now rain is back. This is the area under the flash flood warning, though, so north and west of Mineral Wells, where we have seen consistent and persistent heavy downpours. Jack, Palo Pinto, and Stevens counties, Stevens County under a flash flood warning until 4 o'clock. So in these areas, you've seen some high rainfall amounts, and unfortunately, that has left flash flooding. Sorry, JD, I went past that too fast. Let me see. Well, no, I can't. Anyway, rainfall amounts have been on the higher side, over 2 inches in some of these spots, so we got to watch for the flash flooding. Through tonight, we've got Missouri, Kansas, but a lot of Oklahoma and Texas in the threat zone for severe weather. So in addition to the heavy rain, we could see gusty winds. Hail would be the main threat and tornado possibility. Now, tonight, energy on the increase overnight. So that means even while you're sleeping, we've got a more significant severe threat. That continues tomorrow morning. I think your Friday morning commute could be a really tough one in a place like Dallas. Mid-level disturbance, we've got cold air aloft. That means large hail would be a possibility. Areas in the white outlined areas, that's where we could see hail greater than egg size. Possibility of hail in that severe zone, that 1 inch or greater, anywhere in purple. So Fort Smith, Dallas, all the way down to Austin, Oklahoma City, you are very much in play. So unfortunately, hail could cause us some trouble. Moving through the afternoon, again, here are some thunderstorms scattered about through parts of Texas, into Oklahoma, into Kansas, even Missouri. We've got thunderstorms. They continue through the late evening, early overnight time frame. Watch as things blow up again overnight back towards Abilene and San Angelo. Those work towards Dallas, Waco, and Austin by the morning commute. So I-35 is not a roadway I want to be on tomorrow morning. Mike, Dallas, you've got rounds of rain and thunderstorms. So you see one move through and you're like, glad that's over. Well, there's another one likely behind it.
That morning drive tomorrow, that does not look fun, that's for sure.
We got quite the storm headed our way for the end of the week, even the start of the weekend. So get ready for active weather depending on where you are. What you'll see may be different. When we look at what's happening in Champaign, Illinois, you've got a lot of rain headed your way tonight into Friday, Friday night into Saturday. So parts of the Midwest expect gusty showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. Farther to the west, a place like Denver, Mike's about to talk about you guys, snow for you. And then down to the south today, Oklahoma, Texas, we're looking at opportunities for thunderstorms. And farther to the east, parts of the mid-south, southeast, we'll keep the severe and flooding threat going tomorrow into Saturday. Now, farther to the north, we've got the bandwidth to handle this kind of rain in most spots, 1 to 2 inches coming from Peoria to St. Louis over into parts of Ohio. Right now, the rain is steadiest around Kansas City, now moving into St. Louis as well. Mike?
All right, Alex, thank you for that.
Back into the Midwest where it's not snow, but it's rain that's coming down. Kind of a crummy end to your Thursday here as you get out there this afternoon. You're like looking at the South's cameras like, why can't I have that? Sure would be nice. Wish I could get it. But in Kansas City, you don't. You've got rain for your late day drive. St. Louis, the rain has started. It's going to continue off to the north of Springfield. We've got some moderate rain. So the interstates are getting in on some heavier rain showers, low visibilities, windshield wipers are working. You're just like, I just want to get home. Again, I just want to put on my sweatpants. Flash flooding, at least a slight chance of that today into tomorrow morning. Now, tomorrow, we watch places like Chicago and Indianapolis and St. Louis and Nashville and Paducah and Knoxville. So a lot of big metro areas, at least a low-end risk of flash flooding with, as I mentioned, most areas seeing the bandwidth to handle the 1 to 2 inches headed your way. But in a few spots, you get some moderate or heavy downpours, or you've got a lot of pavement, and that just tends to allow for a little bit more ponding or puddling or just a slower absorption or runoff rate, or faster runoff, less absorption. So we'll watch for those problems possible tomorrow. Moving into Saturday morning, Chicago, you dry out. Detroit, I think you're still dealing with showers when you wake up on Saturday. So maybe like, oh, I'm just going to catch some Z's, stay in bed a little bit longer. And when it's gloomy, you have the raindrops outside. It's just a good morning. And sometimes the dogs don't even want to get up. Those are the ones. Sunday, yeah, we've got some snow showers likely around the Great Lakes as lake effect kicks in. Dr. Dab's been talking about that. Rainfall rates, again, not crazy heavy. I think we end up with 1 to 2 inches on the plus side or on the max side across the Midwest. Most areas looking at a ½ inch to an inch. That would be that lighter shade of green. Winds are going to be picking up. So in addition to the rain, we'll have some gustier winds. So that's why it's kind of a rough and tumble forecast here for these areas, even though it's not the worst of the weather. It's just not great either. Omaha, 25 to 30 mile an hour gusts tomorrow afternoon. Same for Des Moines, Kansas City. Also for you, we got 30 to 35 mile per hour winds in Wichita. Moving into the overnight Saturday afternoon, winds pick up around the Great Lakes. So expect 20 to 30 mile an hour winds for Green Bay, Chicago, Alpena, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Indianapolis, and they'll pick up later Saturday in Detroit.
in actually starting the fire that now became the largest in modern history, in American history.
Yeah, of course, the story will continue to follow. Amongst others, we've got rain and storms today also across the southern plains. Welcome you back into Weather Underground on this Thursday. I'm Alex Wilson with Mike Bettis and Dr. Rick Knabb, our expert, joining us too. We got some flash flood problems, actually, obviously a well away from where the fires are, but close to Fort Worth at this point.
Yeah, so from Texas all the way to probably the Carolinas, now through the weekend, it's going to be really problematic for us, unfortunately. First things first, today the Lone Star State is really under the gun.
Right, severe weather, and again, at least a slight risk of flash flooding. We've seen some persistent storms not too far from Fort Worth. Last night, you don't want to come out, tomorrow morning and find that your hood of your car looks like a golf ball. Tomorrow, we've got the risk of severe weather from Oklahoma and Texas all the way over into the southeast. So greatest chance up into about the Alabama-Georgia state line, but Atlanta, Macon, you guys could see at least an isolated severe storm. And then there's the heavy rain threat on top of that. Torcon values, like today, not overly high in that 2 to 3 range. A 3 would indicate an isolated tornado, but severe weather likely. So gusty, damaging winds and hail both possible for Shreveport and Alexandria and Jackson and Mobile, all the way up towards Montgomery. Again, Birmingham, places like Huntsville and Atlanta, you guys could at least see an isolated severe storm. And again, can't rule out a tornado. Now, tomorrow morning, we're starting things off kind of with a bang, right? It's already active across Arkansas, northern Louisiana, back into Texas. So a tough morning commute from Dallas to Waco, tough morning commute along the Mississippi River. By midday, now we've got that rain, that heavy rain working through north central Mississippi, and then some more rain and thunderstorms back into parts of Louisiana and East Texas. That continues to move east during the day, so late day drive. Now we've got the rain moving into Atlanta, but some of the heaviest rain between Birmingham and Montgomery. So I think Alabama and Mississippi tomorrow at 5 o'clock going to be rough. New Orleans area could also be very active. That heavy rain sticks around, that slug of heavy rain, the reds, the oranges on the radar for Birmingham and Montgomery and Atlanta and Macon through Friday evening into the overnight hours. And unfortunately, you get that much heavy rain in just a few hours coming on the heels of earlier in the week's heavy rain. You're going to see some flash flood problems. So the Weather Prediction Center says, yeah, it's likely we've got flash flood issues on deck from Birmingham to Montgomery up towards Atlanta. And there's a big zone of possible flash flooding from western North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, all the way down towards New Orleans and the Gulf Coast. So got to be aware of that risk. And Saturday for some. Birmingham and Montgomery, tomorrow is your day for severe weather. Torcon values in that 2 range for Birmingham, 3 for Montgomery, up to about Tuscaloosa. So we got parts of I-85, 65, and I-20, at least under an isolated tornado threat. There's going to be severe weather, though. Gusty, damaging winds and hail possible. But I think the more significant, perhaps the most dangerous threat will be the flash flooding and flooding. So flood watches posted everywhere you see the green shading. These are in effect tomorrow through Saturday. We've got heavy rain working in during the midday hours tomorrow. So we got a little rain for your morning commute, but boy, then we turn on the spigot and it is coming down for the late day drive. You see a lot of orange and red on that future radar. Those are torrential downpours. That continues into the late evening, even overnight hours, finally moving out, I think, by midday, or rather mid-morning on Saturday. But at that point, the damage may already be done. We may already be seeing some significant water problems. We're looking at a good 2 to 3 inches across this part of Alabama. I think there are going to be some areas that exceed 3 inches, could even be up towards the 5-inch range. So as you can imagine, that is going to lead to water problems, especially coming on the heels of how wet it was, Mike, earlier this week. We had that first round move through. So that's set the stage. That already led to some flash flooding, and now we're just adding more on top.
Yeah, it's not a pretty picture. No.
Yes, and I still contend that late February into like the first half of March can bring some of the absolute, actually, you know what, all of March can bring some of the best weather across the southeast right before the pollen hits, right? When the pollen explodes, then we all go back inside. But flood watches for Atlanta because things change again. So, right, we had rain on Tuesday into Wednesday. That caused flooding problems. Now we've got the payoff. Well, guess what? More heavy rain coming back in tomorrow, especially through the later hours of tomorrow, overnight into Saturday morning. Flash flood concern is high. I think we will see flash flooding around the Atlanta metro area I mean, gosh, even tomorrow afternoon drive, not going to be easy, and the heavy rain continues from there. After the weekend, cold air aloft, flowing over relatively warm lake water. Again, upper 40s, by no means balmy. It's not bathtub water, but when you compare it to the air temperature, you've got warmer lake water. So that gives you the instability. You get that water off the surface of the lake, that warm, moist air start to rise into the cooler air aloft. So the warmer lake waters are warming that air right above the lake surface. We get that air rising, condensation occurs, snow falls. Obviously, the greater the temperature difference, if you have really, really cold air working over those relatively warmer lake waters, you can see some explosive convection. And that's when you see those bands that are just pumping out 2 to 3+ inches an hour. All Great Lakes at this point would honestly be right around their peak when it comes to ice cover. Look at this. We've had like no ice cover. I mean, we're not just like below average. We are abysmal. Usually you would expect about 38 to 40% ice cover. We got 2.42% ice cover. And as Mike pointed out, most of that is on Lake Superior. So it's way, way up to the north. Lake Erie, your ice cover is 0. There is no ice cover over Lake Erie. So again, we got nothing but lake to work with. And again, at this point, you would typically see almost at least 2/3, if not 3/4 of the lake frozen. Water temperatures, 47 near Cleveland, 40 near Buffalo, 37 near Oswego on Ontario. Huron temperatures, as well as Michigan, at least southern Lake Michigan, in the low 40s. Moving up to the north, again, water temperatures are still in the low to mid 30s around Sault Ste. Marie, upper 30s there into parts of northern Lake Michigan. So again, you get a little cold air moving over that, and the lake's going to work with that. Snowfall departures have been significant, especially for places like Erie, coming off of Lake Erie, Mike, almost 70 inches below average.
Amazing. It is prime for severe storms from the southern plains across the Gulf Coast. Welcome in, everyone. You're watching Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. Far-reaching storm system will bring rain and snow to the parts of the Midwest and West, and flooding rain to the south before it cranks up the East Coast this weekend. So there's a lot.
There's a ton going on for us. Let's get the big picture right now with our expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. Dr. Knabb.
Yeah, Mike, Alex,